I don't think anyone would be surprised if I told you that the internet is a pretty negative and genuinely toxic place a lot of the time, especially if we're talking about the gaming community. And I can't really be too upset about it. I do find it kind of entertaining and like, I'll join in some light ribbing here and there, play some Rocket League, maybe what to save somebody if they've been what to saving us. But aside from that, I don't like to get too personal or, cross a certain line that some people just don't seem to have. And I get it. People like to, say what they want. They're behind a screen. They're behind a name that isn't theirs. They think that they can say whatever they want and not really have repercussions. But as we're going to get into today, there are definitely certain lines that if you cross, it could end badly for you, just as it did for this guy. So we're going to take a look at, it's actually Charlie or Penguinz0's video talking about this guy. And I just want to react to it and give my own 2 cents because it's a wild ride. And hopefully it kind of sets a standard for people to realize what you can and can't say in a Twitch chat or just to another human being, even though it's online. So with that being said, we'll get into it.
Twitch chat is a place where common sense and reasoning goes to die, at least for the most part. There is some unhinged chatters out there, and I swear to God, some of them aren't even like real people. They feel like figments of an imagination from your worst nightmare.
Dude, very, very accurate. If anyone has spent any time on Twitch, regardless if you're streaming or if you're just lurking and watching, if there have been more than 5 or 10 chats that you've seen, I guarantee you at least 1 out of those 10 is some kind of negativity or some kind of like weird call out that you just don't expect to see. But occasionally they go a step beyond, and I swear it's people acting like they're in their anime villain arc. Like, I don't know who wronged these people, but they seem to take it out on just people trying to stream or people just trying to live their life. But I'll let Charlie get back to it.
Or like lobotomy victims all spouting some nonsensical garbage that isn't even related to what's happening in the stream. But now I'd like to introduce you to the final boss of unhinged Twitch chatter. This guy. Danny sent me this today, and I haven't heard anyone talk about this.
Also, like, I don't know why, but he just doesn't strike me as somebody that would be lurking on Twitch like that. But what he says is way worse than most people.
This, which is surprising, because this is one of those, like, weirder stories that I feel people would be talking about from Twitch. So this guy made a statement in an unnamed streamer's chat claiming that he was about to go kill some people in a mass shooting, and then he got arrested for it because the chatters warned the FBI.
Dude, I personally love the fact that he said something, probably expected, like, nothing to come of it, and then the FBI gets involved. Like, that tickles me more than it probably should. I just love that he's getting what he deserves, quite frankly, because yeah, sure, you could say he was just bluffing, but I mean, that's not something that you just lightly throw out there, especially in some kind of public forum. Like this, he should have known something would happen.
And they actually acted on it. So he said that mass murder was coming soon in the Twitch chat, and then they actually showed up and arrested this man, and he's now about to face some serious repercussions for this.
So I don't know if Charlie has gotten into it or not. I haven't watched all of this, but like, I really want to know what his sentencing is going to be, because can you imagine they're like, well, you're going to do like 20 years in prison for something you typed in a Twitch chat. Unbelievable.
This is also, surprisingly, like the first time I feel the FBI's ever acted on something like this. If I can't remember which mass shooter it was.
Correct.
But one of the mass shooters had made a statement similar to this in a YouTube stream, and the FBI was tipped off about it. And they had already like identified that guy as a person of interest, and they still didn't act on it. And he
How?
actually did follow through and kill people.
See, I can understand maybe them not taking just like a passing comment seriously, but if they had already been watching some guy and then they're just like, it's fine, that'd be...
What mass shooter was that? Does anyone remember? Was it Nicholas Cruz? It might have been. But yeah, so I think this is a good thing. I am happy to hear
Agreed.
that they took action about that. 100%. With everything that's been going on, this is a fat W. Huge
is.
L for this fucking loser, but like a big W for law enforcement. I'm glad they finally bothered to take any level of proactive action here.
He's not wrong. Like, what a scumbag. Like, even if you're just like shooting the shit, messing around, like, I don't know. That's not the way you do it. And I feel like that's not what he was doing. I feel like he was just like blowing off steam or whatever his excuse is gonna be, where he was just like, dude, I just had like a really bad day. Like, I got stuck in traffic on the way home, so I just had to come home and threaten some lives. Unhinged.
For sure. Now, when he was apprehended and questioned by authorities, he admitted that the account was his and that the comments were stupid, saying that he was in a dark place, kind of similar to like a YouTuber apology video, honestly.
This is borderline. I think this is worse than a YouTuber apology. Like, how can you just say, I was in a bad headspace? You were threatening multiple lives.
He was saying like he was depressed, intoxicated, and he was recently going through a loss in the family, so he made those comments, which isn't a justification at all for what he said. Like, it's
Nope.
sad to hear that he was going through such tough shit, but that doesn't at all excuse these kind of threats.
Agreed. Like, I hate when people act like just because they're going through a hard time, that gives them the right to just be despicable. I mean, to be honest, the majority of people go through negative things basically every day, if not multiple times a day. Yes, it is, I agree with him, sad to hear that he was going through stuff and maybe has some kind of issues that he needs to work through, but this was not the therapy session that he thought it was. You can't just go out and do that.
And I do consider these threats now. This isn't just like nonsensical hoopla tossed out there.
Agreed.
I no longer
Like, if you told somebody to eat glass, sure, that's technically a threat, but you're just like, I hope you do something silly that would hurt you, as opposed to saying, I am going to go and do this. Like, that is so much more sinister than just like, go fuck yourself with the cactus. You know, I don't know. It goes from like banter and like trying to get under someone's skin to a legitimate threat.
view it as it's just a prank, bro. It's just me goofing around, being a little silly, threatening some mass murder. When there have been so many mass shootings, and like I mentioned in the
Agreed.
stream, one case just like this where someone made a very similar threat and then followed through on it shortly thereafter. And you see so many times, like almost every time there's a mass shooter, the authorities come out and they're like, yeah, we actually knew that this guy was a threat. We also
See, that's what I was thinking earlier when he was talking about the YouTuber that or person on YouTube that they didn't go after, but they had been keeping tabs on. Like, sure, keeping tabs is one thing, but if you're keeping tabs on somebody and then on top of it they make threatening comments like that, maybe that's your time to do something.
knew about the things he was saying online. We actually even had him in our custody for a little while. We gave him a fist bump and told him, like, it's all good now. We looked into your eyes, into the windows of your soul, and we decided you probably won't do it. And then he did it, so we were kind of shocked and almost betrayed that he did it. But yeah, we knew, like, all of these details. And then you always, like, are left scratching your head, like, well, why didn't you act on it? Like, maybe get guns away from that person or something. So even if this guy wasn't a legitimate threat, he wasn't some Gotham villain about to poison the water supply or start spouting riddles off to Batman, it's still good, and I view it as a very positive thing that the authorities went to investigate, to confirm whether...
No, I completely agree, because what's the alternative? You're like, oh, it's not that serious. Like, we don't think he owns any guns. We don't think this. He doesn't seem capable of whatever. How hard is it to just go and be sure of that? Like what they actually did this time, which, I mean, yeah, hats off to them for actually taking this seriously, even though it's, oh, just some angsty guy on Twitch. Like,
whether or not this individual had plans to harm himself or others. I'm glad it wasn't a threat that was taken lightly or falling on deaf ears.
Yep.
Just because I don't think there's any reason to take that chance anymore when something just like this happened and did lead to a lot of innocent deaths.
literally exactly what I was saying. Could not agree more. You have a bunch of funding. You've got a lot of resources. It's the FBI. You know, it's not like you're asking some ragtag group to go hunt them. Like, no. This isn't some children's book where it's me and my group of pals going to go investigate a crime. Like, this is the FBI. They've got plenty of resources. Like he was saying, they keep tabs on a lot of people. Like, what harm is it to just send somebody out to detain this guy, or even just to question him and see if he actually owns guns or plans on following through with these threats.
So I do think this is a good thing, but I have seen a lot of people making these slippery slope arguments about,
Oh, no.
well, if everyone's chats are being policed and you can be arrested for things you say anonymously in a chat room, that could lead to a lot of other things where people are getting punished for really minor offenses. And
I don't know if this is going to go into like the whole free speech thing. Like, yeah, sure, I do agree we should have freedom of speech, but that does not include making threats to people's lives. Like, I get he maybe thought he was going to be anonymous or just wanted to blow off some steam, but how hard is it to just tell someone to fuck themselves? You know? Say, I hope your mother trips in front of you on a banana peel. Like, you know, you just get creative. Those are both bad examples, but like, just get creative with it. You don't have to threaten multiple random people's lives to blow off steam. I don't even think you really need to go talk shit to blow off steam, but I mean, maybe that's just me looking through rose-tinted lenses, but like, I don't know, man.
I can kind of see where that stance is coming from, that perspective, because, for example, E-Rob, who is a Twitch streamer, nay, that's doing him a disservice. He's more than a streamer. He's a goddamn icon. E-Rob made a joke with one of his viewers in his offline Twitch chat about beating him up at TwitchCon. It was just a threat made in jest between two people that knew each other, and E-Rob got reported for it in the offline chat, and Twitch banned him for a whole month because of that threat.
All right, mixed feelings on that. I mean, I guess it is kind of hard to discern what is a joke and what is not when you're, you know, talking about someone typing, but I don't know. As far as Twitch handing out bans like that, if like both the parties involved said like it was a joke, nothing was like meant by this, then maybe lift the ban. But, you know, as far as actual like threatening comments like that, you're kind of digging your own grave there.
Even though it was just a joke. And they didn't fall back on the ban. He spent the entire time in the slammer, in purgatory, unable to stream, all because he made that joke that was taken to the...
Although, sort of props to Twitch for dying on that hill, but maybe the wrong one to do it.
Principal's office by the hall monitor, and he was unjustly disciplined for it. So I can see why people would then take this situation where this man was arrested after his threats and blow it up to a bigger scale where if this is more commonplace, who's to say authorities won't start just striking people down for really small things without looking at like the bigger context or even bothering to see if they were joking or...
I'd like to think that would be too much effort for them to be trying to like take every little threat like, oh, I'm going to slap you silly. Like, you don't really need to send out the armed guards for stuff like that, I don't think.
Or whatever. Like, I do kind of understand where that's coming from, but I still think at the end of the day, it'd be very dangerous and stupid to ignore threats like this guy was making.
Agreed.
Multiple threats about mass murder coming soon, killing 20 people, shit like that. He made himself sound like he was just going to be fucking piling up corpses in the street. Like, that is something that I don't think should be taken lightly and shouldn't be ignored. So I am happy they stepped in for that. So I do hope they continue to take threats like this seriously.
Yeah. Once they, like I said, once they reach a certain thing and you're crossing a line, then yes, take them seriously, investigate, ban them off the platform, whatever you think you need to do. I very much so agree that there is a line where it becomes very much so worth the time and effort to see if they're being serious.
Because it could very well prevent a tragedy. This isn't the only time a mass shooter has advertised their upcoming crimes. And while this guy may not have had any plans to do it, some of the other ones have and have followed through on it, and authorities didn't act until it was too late.
Yep.
Now, this does bring me to an extremely important point to mention with this whole subject, and that's the curious case of Josh Palault, whom I've made a video on and who's been on our podcast twice now because his situation was so...
All right. I'm going to probably do a separate thing on the RuneScape one because that one's wild in itself. My man got 6 years in jail for a RuneScape threat, and I'm pretty sure he served all of it, which is wild. But we'll get into that in a separate video. I do play RuneScape still, so I mean, I think that in itself could be its own video where I can dive a little deeper into it and not make this one video like 30 minutes long. So if you'd like to see that, let me know. But if there comes any more out of this whole Twitch chat little threat scandal that's going on. I'll be sure to post an update or react to Charlie posting an update because, wow, this was quite a roller coaster to be on in 6 minutes or under for Charlie's video. And like I said before, like I said multiple times, I'm just glad that they're taking this seriously and that nothing really came of this besides the guy making threats getting in trouble, because that's how it should be, in my opinion. Well, if you guys have any thoughts or concerns with this, just drop a comment, maybe leave a like and subscribe. I love you guys.